A week before my wedding, my future in-laws took my fiancé on a family trip. He came back acting distant and said, "I think we should take a break." I smiled, handed him a file, and said, "That's funny. Because I just got some information on that trip, so, this happened about 3 months ago. My therapist says writing things out helps, and honestly, I think Reddit deserves this one. I, 28F, was supposed to marry Jake, 29M, this past February. We'd been together for 4 years, lived together for 2, and were 1 week out from our wedding, vendors paid, dress fitted, guests flying in, the whole fairy tale checklist. Jake and I weren't perfect, but we were solid, or so I thought. His parents, on the other hand, walking red flags with good credit scores. His mom has always been that "no woman is good enough for my son" type, and his dad treats Jake like he's a 10-year-old golden boy who can do no wrong. I tolerated them for Jake's sake, and because he claimed he saw through their manipulations. Anyway, a week before the wedding, his parents invited him on a last family-only trip to their lake house. I wasn't invited, just siblings and parents, they said. A bit weird, but fine. I trusted him. He left on a Thursday. By Sunday, he was back. Cold, different. We'd barely spoken for 24 hours before he sat me down and said, "I think we should take a break." My stomach dropped. I asked why. He gave me nothing, just vague phrases like, "I'm not sure we're ready," and "my parents brought up some valid points." He wouldn't even look me in the eye. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, "That's funny, because I just got some information on that trip," and that's when I handed him the folder. Inside, 17 color photos, 3 screenshots, and 1 very detailed summary. You see, my cousin, let's call her Detective Rachel, works remotely in cybersecurity. She's also a petty queen with a streak of digital Sherlock Holmes. When I told her Jake was going off the grid with his family for a few days, she got curious. Not in a stalker way, more like, "let's just be sure you're not getting blindsided," kind of way. Turns out, Jake didn't go on a family-only trip. He went on a trip with his parents, and his ex-girlfriend, yup. Kristen, the same girl he dated for 3 years in college. The same girl who just wanted to stay friends. Apparently, his parents never liked that we moved in together before marriage and always loved Kristen. So they planned a little nostalgia weekend. What they didn't count on was the resort tagging people in photos. Or Kristen posting a boomerang of the wine Jake was pouring for her. Or my cousin's casual background checks on new followers. Inside the folder was a screenshot of Kristen's Instagram post of the lake view, posted the same time Jake claimed he was on a solo walk, a group photo from the lodge's Facebook page showing Jake, Kristen, and his mom in the hot tub, a dinner reservation under Jake's name for 2, time-stamped, and the kicker? A selfie Kristen posted to her close friend's story with Jake's arm around her, captioned, "Just like old times, I only saw it because Rachel created a burner account and got added to Kristen's close friends list within 48 hours. Again, petty queen. Jake flipped through the folder. Slowly, silently, the color drained from his face. When he got to the last page, Rachel's neatly written timeline of everything, they were all sitting there, Jake, his parents, and me. He finally looked up at me and whispered, "I didn't sleep with her," I replied, "but you were going to." His mom tried to jump in, something like, "Now hold on, let's not jump to conclusions," but Jake stood up and said, "You set me up." He looked at his parents like he didn't recognize them. His dad said something about thinking with his head, and how Kristen's the safer choice for a long-term future. Jake stormed out. We never got married. I called the venue. Cancelled everything. Lost a few deposits, but honestly, best money I ever spent. Jake tried to come back 2 weeks later, saying he made a huge mistake, that his parents manipulated him, that he didn't know what he was doing. I told him the truth. If you were that easy to manipulate, I'd have spent the rest of my life fighting for your backbone. I'm now living my best life. I took the honeymoon trip solo, Thailand, baby. I've been hitting the gym, updating my wardrobe, and slowly dipping my toes back into dating. Rachel and I joke that her sleuthing saved my life, and Kristen? She posted a story 2 days ago with the caption, "Guess he wasn't over me after all." I didn't respond. But if she only knew how Jake looked at his parents in pure rage when he realized what they'd orchestrated, well. Let's just say, I don't envy her. TLDR. Fiancé went on a family trip with his parents a week before our wedding. Turned out it was actually a setup with his ex. I found out, handed him the receipts, cancelled the wedding, and walked away with my dignity, and one hell of a story. Update 1. Jake and Kristen lasted a whole 6 weeks. Apparently, Jake tried to rekindle things with Kristen after I kicked him to the curb. And for a minute, his parents were thrilled. His mom even hosted a little family dinner to celebrate their realignment. But, as it turns out, Kristen had no intention of actually dating him seriously. My cousin, yes, Detective Rachel is still watching from the shadows, noticed Kristen quietly reactivating her Hinge profile less than a month later. Then Jake's own sister messaged me on Instagram. We stayed cool, and said Kristen dumped him after he started talking wedding timelines again. Apparently, Kristen said, greater than, this was supposed to be a throwback fling, not a second chance at disappointment. Ouch. 2. Jake's parents? Trying to play peacekeeper now. About a month ago, Jake's mom emailed me. Like a full essay-length letter apologizing for how misguided their actions were and how they were only trying to protect their son's future. She even said they miss having me in the family. I didn't reply. But I did forward the email to Rachel with the subject line, greater than, is gaslighting tax deductible? 3. Jake tried again. One final time. He showed up at my apartment. Not unannounced, thankfully, he texted asking if we could talk for closure. I agreed, because I honestly had no hard feelings anymore. Just deep relief that I dodged a lifetime of that dynamic. He apologized. Truly, he looked like a man who had unraveled every choice he made. He admitted his parents had always pulled the strings in his life and said that for the first time, he sees how damaging it was. And then he said, greater than, part of me will always love you. To which I replied, calmly, greater than, that part of you loved me just enough to let your parents ruin it. He left without a fight. That's the closure he wanted. And I didn't need anything more. 4. Me? Oh, I'm thriving. I took our would-be wedding registry funds and went on a solo trip to Japan, enrolled in a creative writing course, started hosting wine nights with other women who've dodged bad fiancés. Yes, we call it the X-Files. Oh, and I met someone. Too soon to say where it's going, but he's the kind of guy who listens when I speak, doesn't need his mom's permission to function, and asked me what kind of flowers I like instead of assuming I'd grow to like roses. Life lesson: if someone ever needs space after a weekend with people who dislike you, give them all the space they want, and then go fill it with peace, power, and Pinot. Thanks, Reddit. You guys were the first people who made me feel seen when everything imploded. Now, I see myself. And damn, she's doing just fine.